two of the fun things on the other side right now going on with the Rams. Got to give it up, man, for the Rams. Major props for them to get in the playoffs, getting to 10-7, doubling our prediction for the season immediately. I'll go ahead and hold the L and all of that, and looking like a true squad that could maybe quietly for many folks, but to us, we think they really make a push in these playoffs with how things have played out for them. So salute to them. They wrapped it up the regular season very nicely, going up against the rival and the Niners and getting the job done. Salute to Carson Wentz and those guys who's the backups. I just mentioned with the Chargers episode about Def, having backups that can step in and get the job done. It was very impressive. And just looking forward to what will be next for this Rams squad. Before I get into the actual questions, just your last thoughts on the Rams regular season.
Yeah, as we've said for the past several weeks now, just really impressed with how they put this playoff season together, as we didn't expect to start off the year. I think it's been really impressive what we've seen from Stafford, from Puka, from Kyren Williams, who's been, you could argue, like the second best running back in football. He missed like 4 games and still had is leading in a lot of the rushing categories, or in the top of a lot of the rushing categories. So it's just a really impressive season from the Rams. And as you mentioned, I think they can potentially maybe not make a Super Bowl run, but I think they can make some noise in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll talk about that. They started off with a very fun matchup, of course. The one everybody's talking about, a return for Matt Stafford to Detroit, and return for Jared Goff playing against LA with the Lions versus the Rams going to head-to-head in the wild card weekend. Going to be a very fun one. And before we even get into the game and the matchup itself, looking at these two, and we know the trade that went down with them. At this point in their careers, since the trade, who's been more impressive at this point, Stafford or Goff, since that trade?
Goff looks like he's got hate in his heart in that picture.
I understand.
He's like, you took me out of LA, got me sent to Detroit, man.
Sunshine, palm trees, and now I'm on 8 Mile.
I'm in the Motor City. More impressive. Both have been impressive in their own rights. Slight edge to Stafford just because he was able to take this team over the top immediately and get them the Super Bowl win. Obviously, he wasn't the only one doing it, but him and Kupp had a insane dynamic in that Super Bowl run. And Stafford was someone who was viewed as a good quarterback, but it was probably underrated because he was playing on those terrible Lions teams and putting up those numbers. So, the empty stat guys were constantly pounding that drum, but it was clear that he is a solid QB, above average QB, and was exactly the guy that the Rams needed to take them over the top. Not to say that Goff potentially couldn't have been in the right situation. I mean, they got to a Super Bowl. They ran into a Patriots defense that was elite. That was a nasty Super Bowl, but
one of the most boring ever. I try to forget it all the time.
It was terrible. But I think I'll give Stafford the slight edge there too, because I think Goff, his flaws are still like very clear to me. Whereas I think Stafford, I can trust him in almost any situation as long as as long as the offensive line is giving him a little bit of time. But like Stafford needs a lot of time, a lot of protection. I mean, Goff needs a lot of time, a lot of protection to play indoors as well. Like on the road and outdoors, he tends to not play as well. So I think Stafford is the guy who has been a little bit more impressive to me, but both in their own right have been.
I to the question to give an answer would say Stafford, but to give some praise to Jared Goff, as I've been saying his whole tenure there, they didn't believe what Goff did. He was sent to Detroit somewhat to be written off completely. You said there to have his career end. Right after that, they even drafted QB, the drafted Hendon Hooker from Tennessee, and he has not quite stepped up yet as Jared Goff has been playing at a special level, at least enough to withstand any young guys coming up so far. I know Hendon has been hurt and all of that, but just saying that it was positioned for him to go there and kind of fall off and find another quarterback to drafting me ahead of him. But instead, he has stepped up and been a very respectable quarterback over there that's led the Lions to, at some points of seasons, to be viewed as one of the top teams in the league. They look at are poised to be a real threat this postseason. Obviously, they're going to go against the Rams, and somebody has to win, and we'll talk about that later on. But just getting to this point for the Lions is a grand accomplishment that deserves some praise. So, yeah, salute to him for what he has done. I, again, would still stamp Stafford is more impressive for what he has done. I would almost say, because obviously the Super Bowl is enough of an accomplishment, so that is great. But what he's done this year is what really puts him over the top for me versus Stafford. This season, we had thought things were falling off. We thought it was the end of the road for Stafford. We thought that it was time to start looking for other ways. And here he is again, playing at an elite level. At times, looking at the squad, like we said, could be a team that could be a sneaky contender in this postseason. So both have been very impressive. I think it was a win-win in that regard. And I'm excited to see how this game plays out this wild card weekend. So fun stuff there. And with that, I'll go actually into I was going to go straight into game predictions, but actually, no, we will do that. I'll go in game predictions. What I wanted to do last with this was go into ranking all the playoff teams per conference, talking about how we believe they will pan out, and the Rams surely will be a big part of that discussion. So going back to this directly in regards to the Rams and the Lions, how you have this game going. Well, we have quick later on, and we'll pick it again. But for a more in-depth discussion, if you want to have it, how you have this wild card game going between the Lions and the Rams.
It's funny. I think we'll be on similar wavelengths here, but I have the Lions ranked a spot ahead of them in the NFC rankings, but I have the Rams winning the game. So like I think the Rams, I think it's a really good game. I think both teams have defense issues. I think ultimately it kind of comes down to for me with the experience edge of the Rams in terms of the veteran guys who have been in the playoffs and have got to a Super Bowl, namely at the head of the snake, Matthew Stafford. Obviously, there's the narrative of him coming back to Detroit and playing this game, and Detroit still loves him. Like they'll partially probably be rooting for him to succeed, but have the Lions win the game. But
they might cheer. Hey,
honestly, it's probably a win-win for some of those fans. But I think I give the experience edge to the Rams. I also give the head coaching edge to the Rams too. I think McVay is still one of the best coaches in the league. And they got the vets. Like they still have Stafford and Kupp. Puka's been huge. Kyron's been amazing. And then obviously we got Aaron Donald on the other side, and Kobe Turner's been big, and we talked about. I just think it's going to come down to the Rams putting up points. Like they're going to need to score multiple touchdowns. But I think it's going to be a close win for the Rams.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Even beyond our LA Sports Report bias aside, and all other side, like I said, I praise Jared Goff and have become a real fan of his. I believe that, as you pointed out, the experience for the Rams will carry them ahead of this Lions squad as impressive as they have been this season. The Michigan we just pointed out in the College Football Playoff got their one win for the season. For their one big playoff win, that'll be enough for them for a little while. Detroit for the Lions are going to have to hold the L in this regard though, and forward to LA and this Rams squad who have stepped up in this whole season and would carry that on in this playoff run to at least get past this Lions squad. So, all respect to the Lions squad. Very impressive squad. A lot of young squad and potential and all the great words about how things are building up there. Guys like Jahmyr Gibbs and all of that are surely going to be stars, are continuing to blossom going forward. But for right now, they caught the Rams at the wrong time as they are rolling themselves. Sure. And I think they'll find a way to stay ahead of them. So, rolling with the Rams in that one. And, to your point, I had the Rams and Lions right next to each other, and I was going to put the Lions ahead as well. But I was going to pick the Rams in the game, so I had to put the Rams ahead of them. So I had to put them like just the one notch ahead of the Lions.
I think
so. I hear you in that.
I think on paper, like the Lions are a slightly better team. I just think like because of the experience advantage, that's why I favor the slight upset in the Rams. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Lions do win this game. Like I think it will be close. But as you said, we both see the experience being what gets them over the hump. But we both have alluded to our rankings of each conference. Let's go ahead and do that real quick now, and then we'll move on to other things.